Well, hello everybody. And I see I made a spelling mistake and I said IC instead of ISIS. Thea, would you mind just fixing that for me, please, in case we get some weird stalkers? You never know what's out there right now. But anyway, hello everybody.
The conspiracy theories I have heard about myself crack me up sometimes. So yes, you never know what what you say can be or spell can be totally twisted. So.
Totally. It's so funny actually. You gotta be so damn careful nowadays. Anyway, it's all in this beautiful journey that we call life, right? So welcome everybody. I know this is Friday. We usually do Brice on Wellness Wednesday and Wonderful Wednesday, but me, I've been gallivanting and traveling a bit, so schedule's been a little bit out of sync the past week or so, but we'll get back into our flow on Monday. So, welcome everybody. Hello, Thea. Hello, Brice. And really, really, really looking forward to chapter 6 of the Sophia Code. Yay. So, looking forward to that. Hey, Brice.
Hello. I want to give a shout out to all the Americans right now who are struggling with the pollen. We're in pollen. I think you guys struggle with that too. And as we were saying in South Africa, so my eyes are swollen from the pollen. I'm sure we got a lot of viewers out there who are covered in yellow right now from that beautiful pollen. That I got some questions for God. Is this necessary? No, just kidding. Just kidding.
Well, it's maybe our cue to turn into bees or something. So
I know, right? We just roll with it, right? So if anybody's out there struggling, we're all right there with you. It's man versus nature. Nature always wins, my friend. So
yeah, totally. Yay! So looking forward to today with chapter 6 on the Isis, the direct revelations of Isis, birth of the golden age. I must say, I think I've really enjoyed doing this chapter. That's for sure. It was a great one. And I'm looking forward to sharing it with our viewers as well. It's a very long one, guys. So what we have decided to do is break it in two amidst discussion up front. We weren't sure if we were going to do a 2-hour show or break it into 2 1-hour shows. So what we've decided to do is rather break it into 2 1-hour shows. So we'll do the first part today, then on Monday, instead of the emerald tablets, we will do part 2 of this, more for continuation and just keeping the flow, because I think it's so important. And then on Wednesday, we'll do the emerald tablets again. So looking forward to this. And over to you, Brice.
Well, I want to say first and foremost, bless Isis's heart, not in a defamatory way, because I think a lot of these, same with Thoth, a lot of these Egyptian archetypes or humans, we're looking at Isis here. Some people will say, well, did Isis really live, or was she kind of a mythical creature? But according to this Sophia code, yes, she absolutely did live. All of these key codes that we're going to get through did walk this earth at one point and reached a level of ascension themselves within their own alchemy of understanding and became these ascended masters. And we know that Isis, so it's funny that Chanti misspelled it, because if you've been following along with both of these channels with Chanti and Mornay and our little Nancy Drew segments, Boxcar Children segments where we play detectives, we learned that the Essenes, so Isis back in the day, however long back in the day was, we don't know at this point. The Matrix tells us 2,000 years, not so sure about that now, that Isis was spelled ESSE, which is the Essenes. So we know that if you do look at the Bible, that the Sadducees and the Pharisees hated the Essenes because the Essenes were not Jewish. They were Egyptian. And it doesn't really matter. Like, I don't think God really cares. Consciousness really cares, like, who you associate yourself with. But it matters in the context of us understanding where they've tricked us, right? And so I do feel like Isis has gotten a bad rap. And so I'm really grateful that she's the one. What a powerhouse to kick off the key codes, because as you'll see in the next key code is Hathor. Hathor was Isis's teacher. So Hathor is actually older than Isis, but Isis out of everyone has been has had her story just mutilated I mean, our wonderful senator person here in America, I don't want to say names to trigger any algorithms, named a specific group, we'll just say mean group, because I don't know if we can say the T word, after ISIS, if you guys know what we're saying, right? And if you Google ISIS, that's the first thing that comes up. You have to actually type in ISIS goddess in order to get the real ISIS. But then again, we also know we have it in the Christian churches where they've tried to take down Isis and Osiris, right? So they have been, and that's the craftiness of the cabal, is that they come at you from every single angle. And so I am so excited to kick it off because she was such a powerful story, and her chapter. I mean, we can look at the key code. She is key code 1, she of 1,000 names. Your understanding is not required to mentor with me as a guide. So I'm going to stop right there with everybody, because I know that there's going to be people, your program, what is it our friend from the Tartarian documentary says, the backup programming starts to kick in. Like sometimes we hear these names, and even though logically we know that these names have been inverting, we feel that sense of like backup programming, like, oh shit, like this is not good. So she's saying, listen, in that one sentence, I'm like, oh, she knows. The girl knows. She's like, listen, you don't need to understand this. I understand that you're terrified of me. I get that. Like you've been tricked. I get that. Brainwashing, it runs deep, right? Mind control runs deep. Just have faith. Just have faith that this is all going to work out. Because she says only your faith is needed to let go and receive my miracles, divine intervention, and masterful support for the way, capital T, capital W, which was also spoken about in the missing books of the Bible as the path that Yeshua and Magdalene taught was called the way. Ding, 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 right? So back to what I said in the beginning, Essenes, they were of this lineage. Yeshua and Magdalene were of this lineage. I invite you to fly with me into the vista of your own sovereign divinity. So, and what we're going to see when we get into part 2 with the key codes is she is really powerful of getting you to let go of the judgments you have placed on yourself from religious indoctrination, which is so liberating and freeing. So I think that's why also we're starting with ISIS, because we got to cut some of these cords of bondage that you've put on yourself through your own mind in order for you to truly be liberated. So I don't know, do you want us to read through this stuff, Chanti, or do you just want to talk about different aspects of her life through this chapter?
You know what, I thought this chapter would be really good to read through, because especially when we're looking at the key codes, because I think it's quite specific. So that's why I think it would be great to actually read through this chapter, if you don't mind.
Do you want me to read, or do you guys want to read? Yep. I don't mind reading.
You read.
Oh, we can switch off if you guys want. It's like we're in school again. We get to switch off.
Yeah, you second read. I'll read after you. I'm second.
But this is not school. This is not controller school. This is like liberation. This is school liberation. So this school is drop F-bombs and talk about truth. So, all right. So it starts off, Isis speaks. I am Isis, a divine feminine ascended master teacher for an oracle activism and a devoted advocate for Mother Earth. My Sophia embodiment title is She of 1,000 Names, where I'm honored throughout the ages with countless names and adorations and respect that reflects my many roles as a spiritual guide for multi-dimensional empowering. And I actually highlighted this and put stars by this next sentence. Mentoring your highest potential is my great honor. And your own participation as a leader in this current global awakening is vitally important. So that's heavy. Like Isis is like, I'm back, Jack. Like, and it's about you. And I'm going to help you from behind the curtain. I'm going to help you because this is your time to shine. This is you as a global leader. She, as we're going to see, she was a global leader in her human form. When you look to me as a mentor, it is important to understand that I was a woman first. Oh, that's heavy, right? So I think we see some of these people, some of these deities as being just perfect. But she's like, yo, listen, I was a woman first. Don't forget that. I know what it's like to have cramps, to have crushes on boys, to get jealous, to be in a human body. I get it. I know what you're going through. Just remember, I was a woman first. It was through my human journey that I remembered how to embody my multidimensional sovereign power as the key code of Sophia. I invite you to receive my human story as a mirror for the same miraculous potential that exists within you. Activating the Sophia code within me was foundational for my role as an evolutionary, divine, feminine Christ embodiment of the highest order. Now, I highlighted this too. You have the same sovereign power within you. You have the same sovereign power within you to do the same. So she's saying, you and I, we're the same. Don't
Yeah.
look at me as a god.
It's like, for me, that makes perfect sense. When I always talk about God being the sun and we being the rays. So each and every one of us is a divine spark or a divine ray of God's light, but created from exactly the same energy or the same imprint. And all of us carry exactly the same divine imprint. It's up to us and the free will and choice that God has given us. Go, my children, experience yourselves. Come back to me and tell me what you've learned, for that is how I grow.
Yeah.
So every experience that we have in our human form is actually it's an ode to God, really, or to the divine, because you're an expression of that, an extension of that, and we're just experiencing that in our human form in third dimension in a physical body.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. And I think too, like people get, people worship Isis. Well, in this sentence, she's telling you, like, it's the same thing with Thoth. Like, I'm going to help you as like a teacher, as a mentor, because you are no different from me. You just haven't figured that out yet. So she says, long before your recorded history, I walked the earth when our pyramids shimmered with pure gold and crystal washed up along the Nile shore. Although born to rule as a queen, my heart's prayer was to serve as an accessible spiritual leader. From the earliest age, I consecrated my royal position as the vehicle for clearly identifying how to best serve my people. I lived my early life with a passionate, full-body presence in preparation for serving the whole of Egypt with the same care. The foundational years of my divine feminine embodiment unfolded in the worship service of my daily life. I explored the divinity of my humanity within the prayer of bearing children, making love, preparing food, and creating sacred spaces. With every act of devotion, I deepened in my understanding of how family, love, creativity, and fulfilling a higher purpose were universal needs for my people, unifying all of us in our human experience. Honoring my humanity taught me how Egypt deserved to be led. At my birth, my mother had taken a vow for me to be initiated and raised as a priestess of Hathor's lineage, which we're going to do Hathor next. Hathor had physically ascended to Sirius long before my incarnation as Isis. However, my mystery school training taught me how to directly access Hathor as an overlighting spiritual mentor, guiding me from the higher light realms. I adored Hathor and experienced many waking revelations in which she appeared to initiate me as her prodigy for Egypt's future. When I came of age to lead community rites of passage, my natural gifts for commanding high-frequency alchemy magic recalled for the many glorious history of Hathor Stargate ceremonies, which we're going to get into next, Kiko, what she's talking about here. I eventually achieved the honorary office of becoming an oracle in Hathor's lineage with an acute gift for planetary oracle activism, the ability to clearly communicate and advocate direct teaching transmissions from Mother Earth and her many species. In countless ceremonies, I would lay all night with my heart resting upon the ground, cultivating my direct relationship with Mother Earth as I listened to her instructions for my people. Y'all think the cops would come arrest me if I just started to go outside in the middle of Atlanta and play?
But you know what I think is really amazing? That's why it's so important to lie on the grass, just even on your back. I mean, you don't have to lie heart down. Your back is also your heart chakra. So just to lie on the grass, lie on the beach, on the sand, lay down somewhere on the earth where you connect to that feeling of the earth's heartbeat that really beats in harmony with your own. Really.
Yeah, absolutely. She was hugging trees long before we even knew hugging trees was cool. Right? So she understood that. The direct revelations that I would receive guided my people in how to spiritually thrive as a civilization with a ceremonial honoring of Mother Earth's yearly cycles and our interdependency with her body and all species. In this oracle dialogue, I received necessary rites of passage for initiating community ascension that would birth a new golden age movement in Egypt. I was particularly drawn to Mother Earth's instructions through ceremonial magic and balance the energetic principles of life, death, and rebirth within our human experiencing, resurrecting all our conscious awareness beyond passing phenomenon and into the immortal light of our divinity. As I would whisper the words of these direct revelations to my ordained initiates, they would then relay these teaching transmissions to scribes. Our sacred scribes ensured that my words, as delivered by the priestesses, would then be put on a papyrus as well as carved in stone. This record keeping provided access to universal laws for my people to live in freedom, afforded by aligning with those laws and cycles to create and revealed by Mother Earth. Eventually, I created a lineage of mystery schools for initiating future oracle advocates to pass down my direct revelations and channel new teachings for educating generations to come. Over the years of my public ministry, I increasingly merged with Mother Earth's consciousness in ecstatic states of bliss, gratitude, and sensuality. I would sing and shed tears of joy as I integrated these rapturous states of tantric communication with Mother Earth into an applicable teaching transmissions. These songs were recorded as a devotional hymn, the opening specific neurological pathways within my initiates that activated the same transcendental divine communication within them, communion within them. So I highlighted that because that is one of the laws of Ayurveda is what are the three? It's breath, food, and vibration. What is vibration? Vibration is sound. And they go, so if you want a deeper look, if you watching right now just want a deeper look at what she's talking about with these practices, the Magdalene manuscript goes into very deep detail about what they were doing on the Isis priestesshood. And so I think a lot of times when people hear this tantric stuff, they think of like how the controllers have inverted that. But if you read the Magdalene manuscript with this, you will see that they were very strict about who your partner was. It had to be your other half. It had to be the person you loved. There were no orgies. It was literally about you creating a safe, trusting space with your other half that you did not cheat on, that you are loyal to, right? Magdalene talks about this in depth. In fact, Magdalene even talks about this, because in the Magdalene manuscript, they talk about being Egyptian and being in the priestess and priesthood of Isis, that if you were to be intimate with someone that you didn't know, like if it was like a one night stand, or if it was like someone that you just really didn't know anything about, that you would not achieve the level of understanding, because there had to be unconditional trust with the person that you did this with, right? And so Magdalene is very strict about that. Like that's her and Yeshua. Like you have to be able to let go and be with someone that you especially for a woman, that you absolutely know is not going to hurt you or betray you emotionally, because that is when the magic actually starts to happen. So it's not like, and I think that's where the controllers have twisted this, where they're forcing themselves upon people. They're forcing themselves upon the innocent. They're doing this in groups. And so people have this view of what tantric is by how they taught it, which is not how the light teaches it. The light takes this very, very seriously, because we know when we're intimate with people, we also share their karma. And so you have to be very responsible when it's two becoming one, right? It is literally two becoming one in that sense. So, and when two people absolutely love each other and in that moment of trust, a human life can be born out of that, right? So that's how magical this is. So I want to make that very clear. And with that being said, should I pass this over to you now, Chanti, to take over at the height of my spiritual leadership?
Yeah, just where did you finish off?
I can finish this page if you guys want me to, and then get you started on the next page.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. At the height of my spiritual leadership, I was honored as the highest oracle of Hathor in Egypt. My unsensing service of channeling for my people fully activated the Sophia code within me, downloading the unlimited potential of my higher self into form. In accordance with Hathor's teachings on quantum embodiment, I revealed and integrated my soul's etheric wings as a physical feature of my body. This phenomenon gave rise to my classical depiction as a winged form of Isis. I was enthralled by the power of life and the quantum leaps of unlimited personal evolution, and I could explore within it. In accordance with my prayer for an abundance of more life, Hathor appeared to me on the inner planes and guided me in how to activate the morality gene of the Sophia code within me. As a result of this grace, I lived for centuries, walking side by side with Osiris, my beloved twin flame and husband. And so this is also another way the controllers have inverted this. So if you look at depictions of Isis and Osiris, they are two different races. So the controllers want you to believe that Osiris and Isis were brother and sister. And when we look into like the Return of the Divine Sophia, they go into the history of this. Brother and sister was a term for twin flames, was a term for a shared soul. That was not the term for biological brother and sister. And like I know we're at a day and age where common sense is not so common, but if you look at pictures of Isis and Osiris, they are two different races. So talk about some cognitive dissonance. You're seeing two people who are absolutely not biologically related to each other, but are called brother and sister because that was the term that they used back then to venerate a divine feminine and a divine masculine. And so she's setting the record here that they were not inbreeding. There was no incest here, right? That's what the controllers want. That's the inversion, right? Is the incest. That's not the true story. They were, and if you look at, again, if just look at the hieroglyphics, they were obviously not related, right? So anyway, all right, let's take over.
Okay, together we seeded an invincible platinum ray Sophia lineage, capable of withstanding the ever-shifting sands of humanity's long journey to this current golden age upon you. For those of you connected with Key Code 5, Mary Magdalene, it is helpful for you to remember that the Order of Magdalena directly descends through the Isis Sophia lineage, which was carried out of Egypt in the Hebrew Exodus to be revived in the Promised Land. As such, many of my direct revelations for humanity were secreted away to survive within the mythical path of Judaism, known as Kabbalism. Parting the Red Sea of generations, my Platinum Ray Key Code 1 transmission now teaches you, broadcasting my direct revelations as they once were. To understand the creative potential of your current golden age, I invite you to envision how we once lived and taught in Egypt before your written records of history. Osiris and I instructed thousands in how to harmoniously live as one in divine love and nationwide peace. From the tip of the Nile's tail all the way to a head of many deltas, our auricular activism initiated an entire population to actually live in daily bliss with meaningful purpose. I love that. We practiced high alchemical magic to sustain and cultivate this unified field of divine love for the highest good of my people's welfare. And what I want to say there, because as an alchemist, what's very important is to realize the alchemy that the Cabal practices is not the same as the alchemy we're talking about here. We're talking spiritual alchemy. The highest form of alchemy is spiritual alchemy. And again, think about people externalizing things again, right? So they're going to take the lead, so to speak, and concoct it. And we know what adreno is, really. That's their form of alchemy as well, that eternal fountain of youth, right? So that's not what this is. That's not, that's really not what they were saying there. It's like, what I believe that is, we practice the highest alchemical magic to sustain and cultivate this unified field of divine love. It is only an internal alchemy that can cultivate and sustain a unified field of divine love. It's nothing you're going to concoct with a pot and a tube and a chemical and a flame. That is a practice, right? And that's good. I mean, it's nice to be able to concoct things, right? On a physical level as well. But what we really have to understand is the divine alchemy, is the alchemy within. It's the meeting of the yin and the yang within you. And I've said this for many years, and any of my students will acknowledge that. Unless you've met your own twin flame, unless you are married to you first, the yin and the yang within you, the inner divine union, then it's like IQ and EQ, because IQ would be the masculine, EQ is the heart, the feminine, the neck, right, or the throat is the bridge that connects the two. So very often, male and female are cut off from each other. So our thoughts go there and our feelings go there. So what do we manifest in relationships for ourselves? A partner that speaks a completely different language, right? And that's truly only because our own inner alignment, our yin and yang, our masculine and feminine hasn't married and met yet. So when you understand what that divine spark is as well, it's really the connection, the celebration of the yin and yang within you meeting. And you understand you really are androgynous at the end of the day. And that's really what the Kabbalah is doing now as well. They're creating this whole transhumanism as the androgyny of the spirit, because we know the spirit can manifest itself in any shape or form or any masculine or feminine essence, right? So you can, as a believer of reincarnation, you can come, let's not even talk about the animal kingdom, let's just talk about humans. You can come back as a male or a female many, many lifetimes, right? So the spirit is androgynous.
Yeah.
And that's what the Kabbalah is teaching us now with the whole Baphomet, right? Taking that physically and inverting it. So when we understand that, we understand what they're doing. And all we need to do is turn that upside down and make it non-physical.
Yeah.
So the non-physical essence is the divine union exists within you. And when you've had that divine spark marry you, that's when we have the Kundalini activation, right? And all the cells in the body reactivate the neurons and blah, blah, blah. We're not going there. But that's what happens energetically and spiritually. So when, when that's the alchemy, that's when lead becomes gold. That's when suddenly your pain becomes your understanding. Suddenly your pain becomes your power. And power is not something that you beat someone over the head with. Power is humility. It's understanding. It's compassion. It's such a knowing of being in alignment with the divine that you absolutely know you have nothing to fear. That's what it is. So that's where the true alchemy is. And that's when I say, now you mold your gold, right? Now you've gotten into that beautiful golden alchemical flowing state. And now what gold, which is the highest vibrating of all the metals or the highest vibrating energy that we connect to, right? So how then do you now take that and focus that in a direction that works for you, that is recreated, recycled wisdom? Now you're not going there with blinkers on your eyes. You're wise, you understanding, you have compassion, you've got all these things. And now with that's where you move forward. And that's what I'm saying. Where all I want to just get the beginning out. Our ceremonial practices of magic were always used in alignment with the elements and to enhance our direct relationship with Mother Earth. We built pyramids that focused and balanced universal cosmic resources of power for individual and community rites of ascension. Our people prospered and wanted for nothing, for wealth consciousness was inherent in our teachings. So you at that stage were born into abundance, not into fear. They were born knowing that they could create, they could manifest. They, by being in alignment with Christ, the Holy Spirit of Christ, right? You then understand what you need to do in order to create the best result. So they understood this, and I love that. So although an extensive royal caste system eventually arose to govern our expanding population, I initiated a golden age in which every man, woman, and child experienced their absolute sovereign freedom and equality within the unified field of divine love that Egypt once was. The divinity within all was honored at the highest law. Sustaining the high frequency of a golden age movement requires a relentless commitment to excellence and sovereignty. Following my ascension, the royal caste system of Egypt eventually became distracted from the original purpose to serve the people. As with everything, the sacred process of recording on both stone and papyrus became co-opted for controlling the population through hollow spirituality used to enforce hierarchy. You know what I mean? That is so funny. Well, you know what I mean. I refuse to embarrass myself one more time.
Can't even say the word.
My bloopers. When I read for my own channel, it takes me forever to edit that shit.
Yeah. So funny. But I just love that because, yes, she's saying as well, you know, she's literally telling us that the original energy was that, and then it was used to become something else. And they talk about the golden age. And I mean, I want to just say that very, very clearly because a lot of people take that as light or airy fairy. When we look at spiritual alchemy, lead being the lowest vibrating and the densest of all the metals, right? And then you're going to, and that we can say contains your pain, your suffering, your fears, your shames, all of these things that you kind of try and hide away from, but that literally keep you grounded and in the deep end, so to speak. And then obviously the whole objective is to transmute that because energy can never be created or destroyed, only ever transferred or transformed. So we understand that now as an alchemist, right? Energy can never be created or destroyed, only ever transferred or transformed. So the way to transfer the lead, in other words, is to go and look at the pain. What has caused your pain? What has caused your suffering? Are you still blaming others? Do you still need to look at, or whatever? Because when you've reached this point to say, yes, I created this, not to punish or hurt myself, but to expand. What is the expanded version of this? What is the flip side of this? And when you get that, it's like instantaneously the energy in your body shifts, the frequency changes, and lead becomes gold. In other words, understanding occurs. Bing. So your aura immediately expands. And I love what we get later on with the Ankh, because of course the Ankh is my symbol. And that would be the symbol I use here as well, like literally unlocking that Pandora's box. Unlock it, understand it, now transform it, and then resurrection occurs, which is the circle. The resurrection of the human consciousness from suffering into understanding. So it's just an amazing way to understand and see how things work. But the first thing we have to do is really look at ourselves. Look at the stuff that we are denying, our own blind spots. We all have them. And the best way to do that is to actually speak to someone who you like, someone who's a friend, and just say, listen, I know I've got blind spots and I really need your honest truth here. What would you think would be my blind spot, something I do recurringly and probably don't have much perception of? And then a friend will tell you what that is. And you can do so in a loving environment as well, right? It doesn't have to be, well, you this and you that, and you so stuff, and you that. We don't like to see our faults. We know that. That's why it's called our shadow self. That's why it's all our lead. We don't like to acknowledge that we are participating in an abusive relationship. We don't like to acknowledge that, but yet we are. We might be the victim, and it might seem impossible to get out of it, but we have to acknowledge that we are 50% participating in this. And when we get that, that's when the shift happens.
Yeah. And I want to reiterate again, too, what's so, I've said it so many times, and I'll keep saying it, the darkness cannot create anything. It can't do it. So if you're still one of these people who thinks that we just got to destroy everything that you deem to be satanic, well, guess what? That's everything because everything that they use was stolen from us. It was stolen from the light. And that's what she's saying here. Like Chanti was saying, I know this stuff got hijacked. I know it did. But let's go back to the beginning. So yeah, absolutely. I second that.
Okay, I became a distant mystery for my beloved people, a mystery that only the ardent and tenacious could find within themselves. The recorded revelations that I spoke from Mother Earth became so coveted for their power, they were hidden away and eventually dissolved in the dust of Egypt. My teachings lived on only in the hearts that were pure enough to carry forth their details through oral tradition. I long to step out from the carved stone of centuries past, and I ask you to look beyond the history of my form as Isis to receive the vibrant frequency of my guiding light once again. As a mentor, I offer you the breadth of my experience as a high priestess, auricular activist, and devout spiritual leader who successfully guided an entire civilization to birth a new golden age. I'm here to mentor and guide your generation in the same great prayer. And that's really beautiful because, like everything, we've understood the true teachings have been buried and destroyed and abused by many. But it's like, and I've always maintained that it's like nothing can be destroyed. It's in the ethos. It's in the dust. So when your spiritual alignment is of a nature that matches that frequency, you are going to find those truths again. They are going to come to you. You're going to magnetize them to you. And that's so beautiful because nothing is ever lost. It might be dormant. It might be in some obscure place hiding right now for some whatever reason on the opposite side of the earth, but it's never lost. And when your magnetism is right, when your attraction is right, when your frequency is of that nature, that you are ready to receive and not grab. Big difference. Baram versus nyang, nyang, nyang. You might still get when you're grabbing, but when you're grabbing, you must remember you're holding your hand. And at the same time that you're holding your hand closed, you're stopping yourself from receiving. So giving and receiving, it's a symbiotic thing. So when you hold, you give, you offer, and you receive at the same time when you hold your hands open, So that's what it is. And it's trust. It comes with a huge amount of trust. Trust that you're in the right place. Trust that you can let go. Most of us are so fearful of letting go. And and that's because we don't trust. We have to grab and hold on because that's all we can get. And that's what we've been conditioned to believe as well. That's kind of like how that whole prosperity thing has been inverted, right? Where she was saying earlier on, the children were born into consciousness prosperity, or prosperity consciousness, sorry. And now we're born into poverty consciousness, right?
Yeah.
So how do we flip that one around? And that's what we teach with the Sun Kids, by the way. That's what our Sun Kids workshops are all about, is prosperity consciousness, that you have everything within you that you need to be abundant. That even if you're being bullied at school, you can turn it around and you can change that in a heartbeat if you understand it. And when we give them understanding about these things, which is amazing. So yeah, very cool. So I'm not sure how much time do we have. No, we still have time. I don't know, Thea, would you like to take a paragraph there?
Yeah, okay. I was not the best reader in school, but let me do this.
Now you get to read live for the whole world to see. No, I'm just kidding. No pressure or anything.
That's so funny. I actually read something about lucid dreaming, and they said that you can practice things in your lucid dreaming. And I thought to myself, maybe I must just practice speaking in front of a whole lot of people in my lucid dreaming. So that's how you apparently teach yourself new skills.
Yeah, and I will tell you guys too, just if anybody watching right now struggles with that as well, because I know that is a big thing. If I know, and then this might be weird, but if you go on YouTube, but you have to speak in public or do something on a YouTube video, if you go on YouTube and type in vocal warm-ups for singers, I do that a lot, and it helps me get my diction, because it's the diction of hitting the consonants that gets fumbled sometimes when we're nervous. And so I will say, I do that all the time. My boyfriend can't stand it, but I do it all the time. My dog thinks I'm in here dying, but it helps a lot. So yeah, it gets those muscles in your mouth warmed up to actually speak the sentences, So anyway.
Okay, cool. Here we go. Claim your divine inheritance. You were not originally designed to suffer or be in want of anything. Sophia designed you to live in harmony as a sovereign co-creator with the overflowing abundance of this planet. Your divine inheritance includes all of your earthly needs being met, as well as receiving all your heart's desires. In her divine you will it's a divine will for you to prosper in every area of your life. To be the master of both spiritual and physical realm is to know that in truth there is no separation between these two realms. When your alignment with unconditional love for yourself and others in your physical guiding force in life, the abundance of both realms is relevant in your ever expanding measure. I invite you to imagine the golden halls of the ascension templates that grace the spine of Egypt. I taught my people that to utilize these royal structures is an outer reflection of the inner temples and true worth. This is actually so, I mean, like you said, Chanti, we are now being taught we are born into sin, which automatically puts you into fear, which automatically like sway this everything Sophia wanted for us in a complete different direction, like you guys is saying, being inverted.
Yeah.
So,
It's interesting because if you look as well at just how the government blames us for climate warming, climate change. We told we're such a bad bunch of humans for destroying the planet and for doing X, Y, and Z. So immediately, I mean, if you just look at the original teachings that they teach our children, don't do this, don't do this, don't do that, you know, immediately you're born into that sense of who you can't be rather than who you should be or can be. I think there
yeah,
must be a whole different way of parenting um, from ancient times that we still maybe need to reconnect with. Because obviously, as parents, most of our parents are in fear, especially in the world we're living in. Teen pregnancies, no money, no job, whatever, too many children. I wanted a boy and I got a girl. I wanted a girl and I got a boy. All of that stuff is absorbed by the child, you know.
Yeah.
So it's very
yeah,
interesting when we start seeing maybe how to start parenting differently, because of course the children are going to children don't do what you tell them, they do what you do, right? We know
Right.
that.
yeah.
Well, that's what parents say. Don't do as I do,
Yeah,
as I say.
right. Yeah. So the minute we as parents, and that's also one thing with the Sun Kids teacher training, and that's why I am anal about the teachers going through that entire, they do the assignments, because they go right back to their inner child, and they go right back to readjusting things that they need to readjust in their lives so that they have a clear frequency when they're working with the children, because the children will not respond to you well in this type of work if you are not in alignment. It doesn't mean you can't have a bad day or, having a moment of confusion or whatever. Of course, we're human beings, but the core frequency needs to be that of understanding. And when we as adults enable that for our children coming in, they will migrate to us and they will trust us. They will know who to trust. And then that will be, I do believe, the way that we then continue to build a next generation of children who are not in poverty consciousness. But
Yeah.
it takes quite some doing, Let's face that.
Yes, the shackles of
Yeah.
karma that they have from our. And I wanted to talk about the last paragraph on page 61, where again she says, I invite you to imagine the golden halls of ascension temples that grace the spine of Egypt. I taught my people how to utilize these royal structures as an outer reflection of their inner temples and true worth. Well, I've been saying this all the time. Let's talk about the obelisk. There's so many people in our community that keep wanting us to rip down all these obelisks because they think it's Osiris's penis. But if you actually, this is why gossip and hearsay don't stand up in a court of law, because that is gossip and hearsay. That's not. If you actually do your research, the obelisk is an example. It's an outer. What she's talking about. It's an outer, as above, so below, as the micro, so is the macro. The obelisk was the Shishumna. It was the Jed, as they called in Egypt. It was the spinal cord, which was the of what we have. So they knew that the human Sushumna spinal cord was our antenna that flowed from the base of our lower chakra and lower bandha all the way up through the top of our head. That was our antenna. And so if that's how we generate our own prana, our own life force, then the earth has this as well. And so they used this, they understood that the human body was able to accelerate this energy. They could use it on the earth as well, because we are the earth is us. And so and then you can also look at the obelisk and be reminded of the energy that as again, as above, so below. As with the micro, so with the macro. And so I say to all these people that want to run around and pull down all these obelisks, what are you doing? That could be something that we use in the future to generate free energy. That could be a key to Tesla technology. Right?
Yeah.
And she's saying that I've used, and that's what we see from the law of one as well. I know she's going to talk about the pyramids too. The pyramids, which have been inverted by the controllers, were eventually used. They were used inside for meditation chambers, all that kind of stuff. But that's actually also an example of the Shashumna, of the energy moving up through the top of the head.
Yeah.
This is what you are. So if you're so quick,
the pyramid, the pyramid will also draw energy from the earth. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it naturally will draw energy from the earth, channel it through the tip, and then send it upwards and outwards. Yep. So that's also how it works and gives the earth energy as well. But again, we got to understand that there's these pyramids are also placed on very powerful energetic portals and sites. So they know how to harness the energy negatively as well, which is why I have no doubt that the Egyptian pyramids have also been used for some atrocious activities, which is why now they would create that fear in humanity. Oh, it's evil, it's evil, it's evil. Stay away from that. Anyone who's doing anything that is evil. But it's before the evil began, which is what we're looking at here, which is what it really meant. So what we're doing right now is we're flipping it upside down to see the truth behind this. And I hope guys get this, because I know I get a lot of emails and a lot of suddenly this past week, I don't know, some people have thought it was very appropriate to get hold of me on WhatsApp and slander me because the abominations that we speak about. It's like, come on, it doesn't even faze me. But it's just, what I'm saying is that it's not easy when you've been conditioned for so many eons, and not just you yourself, possibly personally, but remember, it goes through the lineage, the bloodlines, your own family bloodlines, where there's been conditioning upon conditioning upon conditioning upon conditioning of what they know exactly how to do that. So now what we're doing, and slowly but surely, we are unconditioning. We're showing you another side, the real side, the truth. We're turning that stinky thing upside down and revealing what is really inside it. So what we need to do is start using these frequencies in the way that they truly are intended for us, which is for healing, which is to remember our own sovereign divine power that lives within us. And it doesn't mean we are trying to be gods or goddesses and own our own planets, which is what the Kabbalah So it's really just about being sovereign in your body, free, and living a life on this earth where you are free to enjoy. Who knows what comes after this? I don't know. But I think we kind of stuck here for a while, so we better just figure it out, and then we might get to know what's after this.
And I want to say too, like if you look at the polarization, you can either worship a god of destruction or you can worship a source of healing.
Totally.
And the source of healing is what we're trying to do. And so that's why, again, it's important. If you are so hell-bent and so bloodthirsty to destroy everything, and the law of one, it's interesting. They say that they are very mesmerized by our planet because we're the only planet that kills people for killing people. And that confuses them. They're like, why don't you heal people? Why do you kill people? Why are you so bloodthirsty? Like, why do you celebrate violence like that? They're very confused by that. And that's something that's like a real come to Jesus moment. Like, oh, they're right. Like, are we worshiping a God of destruction and chaos and pain? Or are we worshiping a source of healing and mercy and grace and understanding and compassion? And if you are bloodthirsty and you want to send me hate mails and death threats, and Chanti and Thea hate mail and death threats, and that says more about you than it does about any of us.
But the whole thing is it's exactly that. I mean, we live on a planet of polarity, right? Everything here is polarized. So it can't just be some things polarized and others aren't, right? So we have the complete creation of life and the giving of life and the givers of life, and then we have the destruction of life and the takers of life. And that is unfortunately what the exact opposite of light does, because its job is to destroy, right? And really at the end of the day, when we look at that, and a lot of these people doing these atrocious things are people that have lost their light. And really, what they are really looking for is their own light. And that's why they'll try it with children, especially children, stuff like that, because that's such bright light. So they try and steal others' light from them. But when they just stop for a minute and just take a breath and realize, wow, even if I am a demonic right now, I too am created from the light.
Yeah.
And really what I'm experiencing right now is the absence of light. I'm lost, I'm alone, I'm angry, I'm full of fear, I'm full of pain. I think God has forgotten me. I think God has abandoned me. All of these things. We all have these feelings, and we have them to varying degrees, right? And when it's really, really bad, you're going to go and do really, really bad things, right? And when it's not so bad, you're going to come out of it within an hour or two. But you learn how to just bring in the knowledge that you are created from God. You are light, even if your light has been dimmed over by several layers. You are of the light. God created Lucifer. Anything dark is an extension of Lucifer. Think about that. Anything negative or anything evil is simply a soldier or an extension of Lucifer, if you want to look at it in biblical terms. Every religion or every belief or every faith has their dark gods too, not just Christianity, right? So Lucifer would be Christianity, the dark lord of Christianity. So what is the darkness around Christianity? What do Christians fear the most? Lucifer will show you.
Yep. And that is,
and when you understand that Lucifer is really doing you a big fat favor, right?
I've actually been saying that more and more. I know people hate to hear that. I'm like, listen, this is the name of the game, you guys. That we're on a planet of polarity. There's no changing it. We will cease to be. People are like, oh, the controllers are gone. No, they're not. They're not gone. We're on third density planet, guys. We haven't flipped to a new planet yet. They're still here. That's their job to play. That's their
role. They're only here because you are still here, or you as in not you, Brice, but you as the individual. Remember, you are vibrating at your vibe. Wherever your frequency is vibrating now is where you're hovering. Your body's your spaceship. Don't ever think that it's anything else. You're not going to get saved by the Pleiadians or the Syrians or the Lyrians or the whatever. Don't kid yourself. You are here to save yourself if you think you need saving. I've long ago understood I don't need saving. I'm just here to enjoy, and I'll buckle and fall and crash and burn sometimes, and then I'm up again. And you know what? If I lose my body somewhere down the line, then I'm coming back. I'm certainly not on a death. I'm certainly not on a death wish. I love my life. I really do. But I am not fearful of not having a good life. Do I have my moments where we're challenged? For sure. And you got to pull out all the blinking stops to make sure that tidal wave doesn't suck you in, right? So you yourself have to be in that space of understanding that God, doesn't punish you. You punish you. And the only reason why you punish you is because you've been indoctrinated with that nonsense.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying that you haven't had stuff happen to you that reaffirms this all the time. Absolutely. That's also called part of our reality on earth. But I am saying that you can undo it. And when you decide to undo it, it's like lead melts and becomes gold. Suddenly the pain disappears. The situation doesn't disappear. Not even God can change the past. But the clarity that you receive suddenly is like, aha, that's why. Boom. Then suddenly, in that moment of aha, the lead becomes gold. Ah, I can breathe. Wow, now that makes sense. Ah, something's starting to flow. Ah, my goodness, suddenly I can see. That's what starts happening. And it starts happening energetically first.
Yeah.
So energy first, action second. The body, the meat suit takes a little bit further to catch on. But you're going to get that moment of truth in that moment, and it's going to be a relief. It's going to feel like you've dropped 10 tons off your shoulders that you had no idea you're even carrying. That's what I'm talking about. And when you set yourself free like that, your energy starts flowing. In other words, God starts breathing through you again. You can feel God's breath breathing, and it ain't no smelly, stinky breath. It's a beautiful golden flow of warm energy, hearing the whisper in your ears and in your cells. And that's what inspires you. But you have to let your blockages and your fears go. You have to let your limitations go. It doesn't happen all the time overnight. It takes a little bit of time. It's a process. Learning how to talk. That's why we're so big on this channel with survivors. Talk, speak. Let's hear your story. We've got your back. Speak. Because talking is healing.
And the girl who wrote this was a survivor. And see,
exactly. And you know what? One of the key codes, and I know we haven't gotten them yet, and we're going to get to them next week, is really about forgiving yourself for not doing that, and for holding back on yourself. But we've all had to, it's been part of our existence to restrict ourselves into submission, and really have that moment of glorious cosmic orgasmic experience of remembering who I am. That's really the joy.
Yeah, and that's the point, right? That's why we came to human, was to experience that friction. And so that friction is not a bad thing. And that's why you're talking, Chanti, I was thinking, this is why God doesn't intervene. Because it's not God's job to intervene. God's job is to give you a lesson, to give you the chance to figure out that you are your own intervention.
Absolutely.
It's you.
Absolutely.
That's the plot twist. And I keep saying that on my channel too, Chanti. I'm like, no one's coming to save you. That's not bad news. That's actually really good news. It is your privilege to be here and save yourself. Because as Isis said in this, you are like her. You are the same sovereign divine being that she was, and she's going to be here to support you, but you have to do this yourself. And that's your privilege. Because if you now,
Absolutely. And she was a woman first,
Woman
and she walked through the, the earth in the same way that we did. And
yeah,
she struggled, and no doubt had her issues with boys and men and rage, and maybe killed a few. I don't know.
I mean, if I were her, I'd be a little pissed that they changed the story that I was boinking my brother. That way, I'm shocked she's not a little angry about that. I'd be like, hold up, I don't boink my brother. Like, that's gross.
I think she's completely laughing at them. It's like, oh my God, you guys are so pathetic. It's like, really? Could you
Humans are a little stupid. Because he was black, I was white. Like, we're not siblings.
But I think they got the whole brother-sister thing confused, because it makes a lot of sense. Because in some of my spiritual practice the other day, it was very clear to me that twin souls are referred to as brother and sister.
Yeah. And the Old
So
Testament,
it's
they are.
interesting.
If you guys want more information about that, Return of the Divine Sophia, this book right here, Trisha McCannon, she goes into the research into the whole brother-sister thing, that it was originally meant to be like not siblings. It was like your sister, like a sister-wife. I know that has a different meaning now with multiple wives, but like your wife, your Magdalene would have been Yeshua's sister in the sense that his sister's soul. Yeah, so I know that sounds weird to us now, but yeah, that's where, and I personally believe the controllers know this, but it was easy to twist it for their own depravity, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I mean, sleeping with your sibling, like that's just so gross.
Well, that's kind of like what they've been doing all along. I mean, look, it's like what they've been doing, like with these royal families and stuff. They're
I know,
boinking
even
each
your
other.
first cousin. I'm sorry, my first cousins. I grew up with them like they were my siblings. So, like, it's just like we shared a grandma and a grandpa. Like, we
look at or was it Thrones? Game of Thrones? Right in the beginning, I watched. Where there's the brother and sister.
Aunts and uncles and
they all. So they've been doing it all along, and and that's what I'm saying. So that's kind of where this whole incestuous bloodline, keeping it in the family, I do believe, was again the brother sister twin soul, the twin flame, was again inverted into becoming, well, you better have babies with your brother or your sister. That's how we keep it in the family. And that's how we keep the tribe together type thing. I mean, that's just disgusting. But anyway, there's been a lot of that. We know that. I mean, incest. I mean, hello, what's incest when it's fathers and mothers onto their own children? I mean, that's just gross.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, so I'm wondering, okay, we're kind of up for an hour. Is there anything you can wrap up with quickly, Brice, or should we just carry on?
Can I wrap up with something quickly? Or I just want to mention something quickly. It's one sentence on page 63, and that's just for mentioning now that we are now convinced that we are born into sin. The word sin simply means to forget and turn upon yourself in shame.
Yeah.
Shame yourself no longer.
To forget who you are. I think next week we actually need to leave. I think that's a really good, I'm looking through everything. That's a really good place to stop on Claim Your Sacred Sexuality, because she's going to talk about some really important stuff before we get, especially when it comes to sexuality. So I think we should pick up with that next on Wednesday or Monday. Monday. And then we can get into the key code, because I think that's actually, this is divine timing, because I think we need to start with that next week, because there's some really important stuff in this next section that needs to be talked about.
Absolutely. So, and I love that, because again, when we were speaking about what I call the tricky trio: shame, humiliation, and guilt. And that when we can understand the power in flipping those emotions and releasing the shame, no matter what you think your shame is, and just being able to bring it into the light, that is where your true power lies. And again, when I say power, it's not going back, and it is the empowerment of your spirit. It's setting yourself free. It's releasing. It's understanding that there's nothing that you've done that is so bad that can never be rectified. It's just a matter of understanding and seeking the opportunity to rectify things. And when you have that energy, God's grace flowing through you, once you've understood things, God provides opportunities for things to be healed and relationships to be healed, or you to be healed first and foremost. So it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yay. Okay. Awesome to have you guys on a Friday. But like with everything, time flies when you're having fun. So from my side, I want to say to you, have an awesome weekend and enjoy. We will see you back on Monday, same time, with part 2 of the Sophia Code instead of the Emerald Tablets. We're going to be doing that on Wednesday, more just for continuity.
Yes.
From today, because I think maybe, guys, if you can get this book or something, go through it on the weekend if you haven't already. It's powerful. It's working beautiful miracles in many people. Funny enough, when I was flying to Johannesburg the other day, I had my book on my lap, and a lady said to me, "Oh, are you reading the same thing?" And she had the one that you have, the Sophia, the other one.
This one, the Return of the Divine Sophia? Yeah.
That's so cool.
And actually, I have
your tribe, right? You meet your tribe. Yeah.
And I have contact. The girl who wrote Return of the Divine Sophia is from Atlanta. There's an Isis priestesshood here in Atlanta, and I know somebody who knows her. So if you guys ever want to talk to her about her research into the Sophia lineage,
wow, that'd be great. We can do that for sure. Yeah, nice. This is lovely. Yeah, great information. Okay, guys, from my side, God bless you all. Thank you so much. Like, share, subscribe, get the message out there. Have a beautiful weekend. Stay blessed, stay cool, stay calm, stay yogi.
Yeah.
Cheers.
We're back again.